first advice is actually to know your customers well. Maybe it might sound like, obvious thing, but a lot of people think like, hey, I think this customer will need my service. They are excited about the solution, about the technology. They just build the solution or the platform or the service. Then they start looking for the customers, that would fit their solution. But the problem would be, in that case, entrepreneur will lose a lot of time and money trying to build something for few number of customers instead of defining the problem, finding the large audience or group of people, then building the solution that will fit that a niche problem that, let's say, like 100 people have.
Everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as a founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Farmon Akmalov, and that's as close as I'm going to get to pronouncing it right. But Farmon started his journey in Libya, and then Latvia. There we go. I'm like, I'm tongue-tied all over the place. Latvia, and came to the U.S. And then before coming to the U.S., got a business finance degree, and then came to the U.S. In around 2019. Wanted to study in a U.S. college, so went to UCLA. Changed directions a bit due to COVID and got more into marketing, sustainability, and an entrepreneurship program. Finished both of those programs and graduated this last March, so March of 2023. Applied for a work visa here in the U.S. to work full time, and is also spending a lot of time building a software company while currently waiting on the permanent visa in the U.S. as well. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Excited to have you here. So I just gave a quick intro to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and then unpack a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in Latvia.
For sure. Yes. As you briefly mentioned, I got my master's degree in business finance. Before that, my undergrad was in entrepreneurship and management. But since I was like 17 years old, I was super excited, to start company, to build some technology, including hardware and software. And that's how I kind of started my entrepreneurship journey when I was 17. And actually, when I was like 19 years old, we had sustainability focused company. We were producing at the university lab, a bicycle USB charger, so people could kind of ride their bikes, then charge their phones, charge their power banks, then they could just travel on the bike. That was the kind of super exciting thing. It helped me to pay for my bachelor's degree. And after that, I started my master's degree. When I was doing my master's degree, I also co-founded the company called AirDoes. And that was professional drone services for construction businesses. And that thing actually started also with university because Latvia has very cold winters. So I was in the class, one day, one of the oldest buildings you can find in Latvia that belonged to our university. It was so cold because the heating system was broken or something. And then I was talking to the building administration and all this stuff. They mentioned there are a lot of heat leak pockets in the building, meaning whenever they turn on the heating system, the heat kind of leaks from the building. Then a lot of cold wind goes into the building. By that time, I was flying the drone and everything. I attached a thermal camera and I did like 3D map of the building and helped the kind of building administrator, to figure out where exactly those heat leaks were happening. That kind of, triggered to start the drone services company in a nutshell. And in 2019, as you mentioned, I came to US to study at UCLA School of Management, Anderson School of Management. But before getting to MBA, I had to learn like some SAT stuff, to adjust the US education system, because European educational system is a bit different. That's why I was just taking different like classes before getting to Anderson School of Management. And that was September 2019. And I was supposed to finish that pre-MBA programs in March 2020. And that's exactly when COVID hit.
Let me just before you dive into the COVID, sure. Just a little bit. So you were in Latvia. Now, what made you decide, hey, because you did quite a bit of your business, you did some startups, you got the degrees and that. What made you decide, hey, I'd rather, I'm going to come to the U.S. to continue on my journey? What was kind of that decision? Was it greater opportunity, different, bigger market? You wanted, or to have a travel abroad, or kind of walk us through a little bit of how you came to that decision?
Sure. That's a really good question. I'll try to answer briefly, because that's a very long story. In a nutshell, we wanted to raise money from US investors because we were one of the fastest growing marketplace in the Baltic states, and especially in the Eastern and Northern European countries. And in Europe, it was very hard to raise money because we raised around 70,000 euros, but it wasn't enough to actually grow the company. And our next goal was to come here, apply for Y Combinator, raise money from them or other VCs, and expand our business into US. Because in European countries, every single country has their own regulations. It's very hard to expand into different countries unless you have office or team in that specific countries. But in the US, it's just one regulation, for a whole country and bigger market for us. That was a goal. On top of that, I just didn't want to kind of stay here. It was hard to get the work visa. So student visa was kind of shortcut. To come here, raise money, then go back to Latvia. But COVID hit, it changed everything.
So makes sense. So you say, okay, COVID hit. Now, as that occurs, kind of walk us through what, as you're now having to deal with a bit of a change in plans and kind of a change in direction. What did you decide to do, or how did you decide to pivot based on that?
Right. Yeah, as I mentioned, we just wanted to raise like $200,000 approximately, then go back to Latvia, grow the company, then open kind of a daughter company here in the US, and potentially move our HQ. And at the same time, I had like some money saved up so I could study at UCLA Anderson School of Management. But after COVID hit, we had to close all the kind of operations, because in Latvia, all construction companies and any other related, companies related to construction had to stop all the operations as well. So we didn't have any single customer. So then I started looking for customers here in the US, that could use our services. Since it was service and marketplace, we didn't need to have our own employees because we could hire independent contractors, pay them per hour and keep our 30% cut. And that attempt also was not successful because here in the US also all businesses started like shutting down their operations, right? And we had cash for 12 months or so to kind of, start cutting costs, start helping existing customers with the digital services, because we were creating different maps as well for construction companies to do it. Then in the US, I had like two choices: just to go back to Latvia and wait, or like stay here, and keep studying, learning new skills, kind of finding new partners and building relationship with investors. That option looked feasible because, again, if I go back to Latvia, I didn't have any other tasks and other things to do. But here, at least I could just expand my network, potentially, raise money for the company when COVID is over, so we can just revamp our operations back in Latvia and in the US.
Now, see, you kind of make that adjustment, pivot, go in that direction. Now, amongst all of that, you decide, okay, we're going to stay in the US. You have to now start applying for the visa process and kind of walk us through, because I think currently you're going through the visa process, making the application, also building the software company, juggling a few different things. So kind of catch us up a little bit or with that part of the journey.
For sure, yes. Actually, after kind of this quick pivot, and I didn't think that we'll need to shut down AirDust, our previous company, but we ran out of money after like 13 months, and we had to kind of, wind it down. And then I had a lot of free time. I was just thinking like, okay, I have like some cash, that I saved up for Anderson School of Management. What I need to do? Should I go and study online and pay like over $100,000? Or should I kind of invest that money into different startup idea, that I'm passionate about? At the same time, I could help customers, people here. Because since 2019, I've been studying and developing my company. But on the side, I was building Shopify stores, to kind of earn some money and to cover all costs. At the same time, I'm passionate about building e-commerce stores and kind of delivering those items, fulfillment, and increasing sustainability in last mile. And then in 2021, around like October, we shut down the AirDoes. And because in 2022, January, approximately that time, I started my new company, Milky Way Delivery. And the reason why I started Milky Way Delivery was the need in the market. Specifically, since I've been in the e-commerce for over 3 years at that time, I saw not a single solution for last mile delivery. For example, food and grocery was occupied by Uber Eats and the DoorDash, but for other products like apparel, electronics, and non-perishable kind of items, no one was delivering their items the same day. Specifically apparel, they had like millions of dollars in loss because of returns, especially during COVID times. People were, ordering a couple of items at the same time just to try it out at home. They couldn't go to store. And after 20, 25, 30 days, they were just sending them back. But businesses, they need to order inventory, to kind of restock the items customers ordered. But when they start receiving thousands of items back, they had a lot of surplus. And because of that surplus, they were just dumping most of the clothes, burning them, and at the same time, too much waste ending up in the landfill. I did like quite deep research, talked to like 100 plus businesses here in LA. That was like end of 2021, 2022. Then I saw this kind of niche in the market that wasn't fulfilled. That's how I kind of started the Milky Way. And I just took out all the money that I wanted to pay for my MBA, invested into Milky Way Delivery, and we established the C Corp, Delaware-based C Corp, in 2022 June. That's when actually this company started.
Now, you kind of find this, I'll say, niche in the marketplace, or kind of, an unmet need, so to speak. You're saying, hey, it's that last mile of delivery is oftentimes the one that's the most difficult, or goes unrealized, or underserved. And so you start the business, you go with the Milky Way Delivery. Now, as you starting the business, you've been in business now what, a year-ish or something,
over a year.
So now walk us through kind of how have things gone? If you had to make the pivot, you went a different direction, you're waiting out the visa. Have you got the visa? Has the business taken off? Has it still figuring things out, still evolving, or all of the above, or none of the above? Or kind of walk us through kind of where things at today.
Absolutely. I would be happy to. Yes, as I mentioned, I graduated kind of from school this year in March, right? After graduating from F1 visa, I had to have some kind of work visa so I could legally stay here and continue my entrepreneurship journey. And that was the time I applied for EB2 based on the Milky Way Delivery. And EB2 is for people that have at least master's degree and has potential, to bring a lot of value to US citizens and help to grow US economy. And that was a visa that could kind of give me some opportunity to stay here and develop the company. And my case was approved. And as you mentioned, now I am kind of in the process of adjusting my status from student visa to permanent resident. And at the same time, I'm developing the company. But if I make one step back, we started as B2C company, peer-to-peer delivery marketplace back in 2022 June. And the motivation was Y Combinator's startup school. And I just had an idea, I did just research. Personally, I needed someone's help to drop off my Nike shoes, in a Nike store. And then I just added that to my application to YC, and I was accepted to Y Combinator Startup School in 2022. Then that kicked off everything, Then we provided over 100 deliveries. Everyone was happy. They loved the idea. But the biggest problem was the churning rate, because a lot of customers were saying, hey, we love the idea, but we keep kind of forgetting about your service. We buy a lot of stuff online, but would be great if you could add Milky Way delivery, on a website's checkout page. So instead of going to Nike.com, ordering something, then coming to Milky Way delivery and requesting delivery, we could just directly choose your service on the Nike's website. And on top of Nike, they also mentioned a lot of local apparel, businesses. They have only one store in whole LA County. That store that usually doesn't have parking spots around. So it's very hard for customers to return it back to those stores. So we collected all the insights from customers. Then we said, let us just go directly to businesses and offer them our service. So on their checkout page, they can put, get your item delivered in 2 hours with Milky Way delivery, right? And when they want to return, business will say, okay, here is the quick kind of form, fill it in, and one of the Milky Way delivery drivers will come to your place to pick it up and bring back to our store. That's how we pivoted to B2B in the beginning of 2023. And since then, we onboarded over 10 customers, and we have 35 plus soft commitments because 90% of our customers are on Shopify store. And literally 2 weeks ago, we launched our official Shopify store. So our customers can right away, automate their fulfillment process to deliver to local customers and to get back orders from local customers.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's been a good evolution, lots of lessons learned, things learned along the way, as well as lots of opportunities both now and yet to come. So it sounds like things are going awesome. So, well, now that we've kind of caught up to the present day of the journey, it's a great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask towards the end of each episode. So we'll go ahead and jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What did you learn from it?
Right. The worst decision, shutting down my previous company, because I wish, we could just raise a bit of money, but there are a lot of things we couldn't control because we had great track record with my previous marketplace. We were one of the first movers in the market. And the thing is, when you run out of money is kind of bloodline, for the company, and customers are out of business, they're not paying. So that was the only option, unfortunately, but that was one of the worst decisions I had to make. And yes, and what was your second question?
Yeah, so now that I hadn't asked my second question yet, but now I will ask. So the second question I'd like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
Right. First advice is actually to know your customers well. Maybe it might sound like, obvious thing, but a lot of people think hey, I think this customer will need my service. They are excited about the solution, about the technology. They just built the solution or the platform or the service. Then they start looking for the customers, that would fit their solution. But the problem would be, in that case, entrepreneur will lose a lot of time and money trying to build something for few number of customers instead of, defining the problem, finding the large audience or group of people, then building the solution that will fit that niche, problem that, let's say, 100 people have. Because I actually fell into this trap when I was starting my AirDesk company. I was super excited about the drone marketplace. I wanted to fly drones, make videos and photos, but I didn't know who will be my customer. Then I bought the drone for $3,000. I was kind of recording 4K videos, 2K images. When I wanted to sell it for $100, $200, no one wanted to buy it. And after that, I just started looking for customers that would want it. And I wasted over 6 months trying to find customers that would want to buy my solution. That's when I learned it. So then I implemented that last lesson in my Milky Way delivery when I actually face-to-face talked over 100 businesses and over 250 customers here on campus and people from my network to actually figure out what was the niche, where I could fit with my experience and provide 10x value than what exists in the market. I hope it wasn't too long.
No, I think that's a great piece of advice and great takeaway. And I think that, sometimes I think when you get into business, you get excited about the opportunities, about the things you can do and how you can tackle them, and all of the cool features that you can offer, and then you sometimes overlook the who is your actual marketplace, or are they willing to pay for your service? What are they willing to pay? How do you find them, and all those things, because you're excited about the new project and the new opportunity. So I definitely think that's a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. So
okay.
Well, now as we do wrap up towards the end of the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Right. My LinkedIn, through LinkedIn would be the best, because every single day I check my LinkedIn account. And they can also reach out to me through email. Usually I respond within, like 24 hours. And my email is my first name, Farmon, @milkywaydelivery.com. And I would be happy, to connect and chat with them.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out or support a great business, make a new connection. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of your other listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. Just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Farmon, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Devin. Have a good one.